I have a rabbi friend here in San Diego who loves to talk about this passage. And when she talks about it, what she says is that Moses is the greatest prophet in all the history of Israel, in all the history of Judaism. And the reason that Moses is the greatest prophet in the history of Judaism is not because he was so smart, it's not because he was so wise, it's not because he was so righteous or virtuous. No, on the contrary, the reason Moses is the greatest prophet in all of Judaism is because he was willing to say no to God. He was willing to stand before the creator of the universe. And when that creator of the universe said, let's do away with these people and go and make a new people together, you and I, that Moses, that man, that frail human being stood there on Mount Sinai and said, no, because you have made a promise to these people. And what that reveals about Moses, I think, is at least two things. And the first is that Moses' character had become really deep. That Moses, probably through Moses' struggle with these people, through Moses' encounters with God, Moses went from being the man at the burning bush who said, no, I don't want to do this, to now being the man standing on Mount Sinai who is willing to say no to God. And thereby we see that Moses' character has grown and deepened and become so substantive that he has become compassionate for these people. What we see is that Moses has become, or is becoming, the very person that God intended him to be. And that really is the point of this story. It doesn't matter which way you read it. Whether you think God was really angry, or whether you think that God was testing Moses, or whether you think that Moses is projecting his own anger and frustration onto the sort of, canvas of God, whatever it is that you see in this passage, they all have the same thing in common, and that is that Moses was a person of enough compassion and enough depth of character that he was willing to advocate for these people and say, no, I will stand and plead their case. And that is what happens when we encounter God in all of the different ways that we've talked about in this series. We become genuinely deeper, more compassionate, more courageous people who are able to do what is right in any given situation. Today, I want to end with that and just ask you this question as you are watching. I want to ask you to answer the question, how is it that your encounters with God have shaped your character for good? Because ultimately, that is the fruit of any genuine encounter with God. Any true encounter with God, whether it seems spectacular or mundane, whether it seems miraculous or whether it seems invisible, whatever it might be, when we have a genuine encounter with God, it deeply changes our character for the better. We become people of compassion, we become people of courage, we become people of character. So my question again for you today is, how have your encounters with God deepened your character for good? Would you just pop into the comments on Facebook or YouTube, wherever you might be, and just type in how it is that your encounters with God have changed you for the better? What has changed in you as a result of that? And as you do, I just want to ask that you would encourage each other, that you'd respond to each other's comments so that we can have more of a sense that we are fellowshipping together even as we worship online.